Words of our Divine Mother from the book The Mother, Question and Answers of 1954, Volume 6, page 402. Question by a Sadhak. Sweet Mother, when we make an effort, there is something in us which becomes very self-satisfied and boastful and contented with this effort, and that spoils everything. Then how can we get rid of this? For this, our Divine Mother says, that's what looks on, what it is doing. There is always someone who observes them when one is doing something, and now sometimes he becomes proud. Obviously, this takes away much strength from the effort. I think it is the habit of looking at oneself acting, looking at oneself living. It is necessary to observe oneself, but I think it is still more necessary to try to be absolutely sincere and spontaneous, very spontaneous in what one does. Not always to go on observing oneself, looking at what one is doing, judging oneself sometimes severely. In fact, it is almost as bad as patting oneself with satisfaction. The two are equally bad. One should be sincere in his aspiration, that he does not even know what he is doing or how he is aspiring, that he becomes the aspiration itself. When this indeed can be realized, one truly attains to an extraordinary power. 1 minute of this, and you can prepare years of realization. When one is no longer a self-regarding being, an ego looking at itself acting, when one becomes the action itself, above all in the aspiration, this truly is good. When there is no longer a person who is aspiring, when it is the aspiration which leaps up with a fully concentrated impulsion, then truly it goes very far. Otherwise, there is always mixed up in it a little of vanity, a little self-complacency, a little self-pity, and all kinds of little things which come and spoil everything, but it is difficult. Then the child says, Sweet Mother, here it is written, in this yoga the whole principle is to open oneself to the divine's influence. What does it exactly mean to open oneself to divine influence? For this, our Divine Mother says, to explain is to try to give a formula for the mind which allows the thing to be done without any effort. One has a fine explanation in his head and believes it is enough for the thing to be realized. But if one does a little, even awkwardly, gradually one progresses, one does better. When one does it really well, one understands what is to be done, what one is doing, and one also knows how one has to learn it, step by step, by trying. Then the child says, Sweet Mother, what are the conditions in which there is a descent of faith? For this, our Divine Mother says, the most important condition is an almost childlike trust. The candid trust of a child who's sure that it will come, who doesn't even ask himself about it. When he needs something, he's sure that he is going to get it, that it is going to come. Well, it is this kind of trust. This indeed is the most important condition. Our Divine Mother says to aspire is indispensable, but some people aspire with such a conflict inside them between faith and absence of faith, trust and distrust, between the optimism which is sure of victory and the pessimism which acts itself when the catastrophe will come. Now, if this is in the being, you may aspire, but you do not get anything, and you say, I aspired, but I didn't get anything. It is because you demolish your aspiration all the time by your lack of confidence. If you truly have trust, children, when left to themselves and not deformed by older people or elder people, they have such a great trust that all will be well. For example, when they have a small accident, they will never think that it's going to be something serious. They are spontaneously convinced that it will soon be over, and this helps so powerfully in putting an end to it. Well, when one aspires for the force, when one asks the divine for help, if someone asks with the unshakable certitude that it will come, that it is impossible that it won't, then it is sure to come. It is this kind, yes, it is a truly inner opening, this complete trustfulness, and some people are constantly in this state. When there is something to be received, they are always there to receive it. There are others, when there is something to have, a forced descent, but they are always absent. They are always closed at that moment, while those who are have this childlike trust are always there at the right time. And it is strange, isn't it? Outwardly, there is no difference. They have exactly the same goodwill, the same great aspiration, the same wish to do good. But those who have the smiling confidence within them do not question. They do not ask themselves whether they will have it or not, whether the divine will answer or not. The question does not arise. It is something understood. What I need will be given to me. If I pray, I shall have an answer. If I am in difficulty and ask for help, the divine will always be there and the help will come. And not only will it come, but it will manage everything. If this trust is there, spontaneous, candid, unquestioning, it works better than anything else, and the results are marvelous. It is with the contradictions and the doubts of the mind that one spoils everything, with this kind of notion which comes when one is in difficulties. Let me repeat this for you. It is with the contradictions and the doubts of the mind that one spoils everything, with this kind of notion which comes when one is in difficulties. Oh, it is impossible. I shall never manage it. And if it is going to be aggravated, if this condition I am in, which I don't want, is going to go worse, if I continue to slide down further, if like that, and one builds a wall between oneself and the force one wants to receive, but they are building the wall stronger. The psychic being has this trust, has it wonderfully, without a shadow, without an argument, without a contradiction. And when it is like that, there is not a prayer which does not get an answer, no aspiration which is not realized. Next question from page number 409. Sweet mother, to keep the psychic awake and in front. What does in front mean, sweet mother? For this, our Divine Mother says, that is to say, in the forefront of your consciousness, instead of being pushed from behind in a background which is only very rarely seen, to keep it right in front of the consciousness, in the active consciousness. In any case, you must want it and try to do it. And then the child says, sweet mother, desire leads to pulling down the force. What does this mean? For this, our Divine Mother says, you see, one has an aspiration for light, for knowledge, for all kinds of things. Now, if a desire is mixed with your aspiration, instead of simply aspiring and waiting the answer, you begin to pull. One draws things when one desires them. You draw themselves to yourself. So instead of waiting for the grace and the light and the consciousness and the truth to answer your aspiration, you are pulling them down like that towards yourself with a very egoistic movement, as though you were pulling a rope or something or anything at all can come and answer. Instead of it, for example, a true light, it can be a false light when it takes brilliant appearances to deceive you. Instead of its being a true force, it can be an adverse force of the vital which wants to take possession of you. It means that when one has an aspiration, it is better to believe oneself. It is better to know that no desires can get mixed up in that way, because desires can always spoil everything. These are the divine words of our Divine Mother.